Hello, welcome to this Fane online event. My name is Ainsley Hogarth, and I'm going to be speaking with Kate Brody, author of Rabbit Hole. Hello, Kate. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for doing this, Ainsley. This is fun.
Yes, very fun. I'm very excited to be doing it for you because, as you know, I love this book. I really loved it a lot. Yeah, and so you're in Los Angeles, correct?
I'm
And
in a,
in LA. And but you're not from LA, you're from New Jersey?
yes.
Wild. I've recently become a fan of Bruce Springsteen in the last like 2 years. So now I've taken some interest in New Jersey.
I was never a Springsteen person when I lived in New Jersey. I think because I'm from like that exact area.
Oh,
So like
really?
all the songs, I was kind of like, this is so phony. Like this is the most boring place on earth, and he's singing all these interesting. And then after I left, now I listen to so much Springsteen because I think I'm like nostalgic
Oh,
for New Jersey.
wow.
Not that I would ever move back, no offense to New Jersey, but in exile, I am more romantic about New Jersey. So I listen to tons of Bruce Springsteen now.
I mean, that they say that. That's why they say like you can never go home again or whatever, like, because it's just you'll go back and be like, oh, right, New Jersey. And also obviously there's a Bruce Springsteen reference in the book,
Yes.
which I appreciated. I
Entertaining.
didn't know you were from New Jersey when I first read that. And then also I'm going to open with another reference that's in the book, which is, are you a fan of the movie You've Got Mail?
Yeah,
You mentioned,
yes. Love You've Got Mail. I mean, yeah, anything or Efron, I'll watch.
I also love You've Got Mail. And You've Got Mail is a weird movie where every other time I watch it, I actually hate it. So I've watched
Yeah.
it a lot. And every other time I'm like, God, I actually hate this movie. I don't know why I watch it all the time. And then the next time I watch it, I'll be like, oh my God, this
It's
movie's so good.
definitely not, it's not like When Harry Met Sally. Like it's not at that level.
No.
And some parts of it are like a little odd, but
Yeah.
it's Meg Ryan is just so charming. Like no one does it like that anymore. And it is
Jane
also
Kelly.
like such a weird book movie because it just seems so quaint now. Like this big bookstore is gonna come crush this little bookstore. It's like what a world that we're living in, where all these bookstores are crushing each other. Like
I know. And then she still ends up with him in the end, which is like, it's like, sorry, I crushed your bookstore, but just come be rich with me now.
yeah.
Also, it's weird that she goes to Starbucks in that movie because it seems like that was the era, like maybe just before Starbucks had like started crushing small coffee shops. So anyway, seems odd.
Yeah.
All right. So
Also,
now that we've established that, I was just curious because you mentioned it and I wasn't sure if it was like because you love it or I don't know. Okay. So Rabbit Hole, my first real question about it is, I guess I'm very curious to hear you describe it in your own words because I know that, as we were just talking about it, it's marketed as a thriller, but it is sort of doesn't exactly fit that description. And I know that you did a lot of your editorial work was making it more of a thriller, sort of streamlining it into that genre. So I'm very curious how you would describe the book.
so I've been describing it as like a literary thriller. Um, my husband the other day was saying like, no, it's not a thriller, it's a mystery, which I hadn't thought about. But he was like, you don't have this sense necessarily like with a thriller that someone is in peril the whole time. It's more, there's this question. So I guess literary mystery. But I think really when I wrote it, I was writing it almost as an anti-mystery. Like I was writing against a lot of genre tropes. So it's, I think, playing with some of the ideas of genre and definitely using genre as like a container for all of the things I wanted to explore about like, grief and memory. But definitely I was sort of writing against true crime, which I think is so tidy and so tied to its beats. So
I
I knew
see.
right from the jump that I didn't want to hit all the expected beats. Like that felt phony to me. So I didn't want
Yeah,
to do that.
I can definitely see that. Well, it's just sort of the way too that like with true crime and the way that we consume it, anytime like you really expect them to catch the person.
Yeah.
sort of thing. So like, and that does happen too, where, you know, when you hear about things, even in real life, you're sort of always waiting for it to resolve. And it often doesn't. And that is like far more realistic. That's far more. And so that's very interesting, because I do feel like that sort of changed the way that true crime, it's kind of changed at least the way that I sort of consume news and things like that. I also find true crime has changed the way I look at any photograph taken before like 1999. Like anytime I see a picture of anybody before 1999, I'm like, oh, are they dead? Is that
They're the victim of something
are they the
horrible.
victim of a crime? That's really interesting. And you can really tell that when you're reading it, because it's not tidy, but that is really what makes it work for me. Also, just the way that, as you said, it's a book about grief and how unmoored you feel when you're grieving somebody, and just how tricky that would be to fit into a more typical thriller style, just because you capture that feeling so well of her kind of being, yeah, just like not being able to trust anybody, not really feeling, yeah, it was, I really love that. I really love that part of the book. So you saw sort of a thriller in it to begin with, but then through the editorial process, that got tighter, sort of thing.
I think so. It was a process of like just making sure that the plot felt like it was moving the whole time. It does feel a bit like crime novels and novels about grief. They are in opposition, like you're saying, because grief is this really slow, often really passive kind of experience where you're struggling to like get up and do something, take a shower. Whereas crime novels, you have to be kind of constantly in motion, chasing down other things. So I think balancing those two things which feel in conflict, even though like every crime story is a tragedy, like, right? It is a story of grief, in the sense that like, okay, a missing girl or, you know, a murder, there is a grieving family there. So they're not necessarily in opposition, but I think narratively those two stories feel in opposition sometimes. So it was a matter
Yeah.
of like balancing it.
Which is kind of weird, because you're right, those stories should kind of always contain elements of grief, which as you said, is like sort of day to day, actually a bit mundane and a bit like not interesting to a reader necessarily, but they don't feel like that. And that almost feels like the way you just describe it as kind of a glaring omission from crime books. Yeah, that's really interesting. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, with respect to Teddy, who is a really great, your protagonist, who is such a wonderful character. Are you familiar with that meme? I think it's like Anya Taylor-Joy, and I think it's like in the Queen's Gambit, and it's like male authors trying to show a woman at rock bottom, and she's like holding a martini. Do you know this meme? And she's like wearing like lingerie, and she's like smoking a cigarette, and she just looks glamorous and lovely, but apparently in the context of the show, which I haven't seen, she's at rock bottom. And I guess sort of the idea is like a woman at rock bottom is almost like fetishized at this point. Like, I think that's part of almost like that manic pixie dream girl thing as well. And Teddy is somehow like just remarkably stripped of, and there's no fetishization of her spiral. And I'm wondering how conscious you were of avoiding that caricature, or if you even thought about it at all. Like, yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I like thinking about like the way that we all act when we're alone. And I think, one thing that was kind of interesting to me in the years that I was working on this novel, it was when Otessa Moshfegh was kind of exploding, and people were like, "Oh, these books are so disgusting," and like all these women like doing these horrible, disgusting things. But that, like, to me, it felt so permission giving, because it actually didn't feel like that far off from the way people act when they're by themselves, like, and doing these kind of, having these disgusting thoughts and doing these things. So I think with Teddy, I just I wanted her to feel real. I'm not really interested in like fetishizing my female characters, like to the point that I think a lot of the feedback I got that I ignored was like, I can't tell what Teddy looks like early on in the book.
Oh,
And I was like, well, I don't care about that. Like, I'm not going to be like, and I stood there brushing my shoulder length brown hair. You know, that kind of stuff makes me insane as a reader because I'm like, no
yeah.
one talks about themselves like this.
No.
So when she's talking about her own body and like when she is alone in a room and acting odd, I wanted it to be in the kind of self-conscious way that she would act when she's not under scrutiny. I think at one point in the novel she says like if her mom could see her when she's alone, like it's like a
Yes.
bad for her. Um, but yeah, I think that especially when you're grieving, you give yourself permission to be your worst kind
Yeah.
of base self. Um, and I don't think that's far off. I mean, you probably like I feel like with kids too, like when you have kids and you realize like they're just animals who live in your
Yes.
home. And you start to kind of observe your own behaviors a little bit differently too.
Yeah, that's true. And also sort of like what you're talking about with um about the body and like the way that you write the body and that sort of like focus on Teddy's kind of bodily experience is really striking, particularly in the sex scenes, which are like so good, like so good. And that you don't come across that often, like really, really good, really real feeling sex scenes. And what's amazing is that Bill, her lover, is not sort of like a typically he's not like a catch necessarily either. Like it's not like I mean, but he is to me from reading this book, like I'd hit it, but like he's not like a typical catch either. But the way you write those scenes, you know, from the experience of Teddy's body just really, yeah, it really resonates. And you do such a fabulous job of that. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, no, I loved it. I really enjoyed those scenes. As I'm like, I really enjoyed those scenes.
They're like sex scenes are fun too because they're so characterizing. Like the way you have characters who approach sex in all different ways. Like some characters that is them at their like freest, most unguarded, and then other characters it's a total performance. And I think in Teddy's case, because she has such a difficult time expressing any kind of anger or sadness, or need for like a human touch, that's an outlet for her. So like anytime I felt like things in the story were really building up and there needs to be some kind of pressure valve, those sex scenes were a way of for Teddy to either like enact a kind of violence or um receive a kind of punishment or whatever she felt like she needed to sort of recalibrate without having to kind of verbalize it. A couple times I think Bill tries to have the conversation that they're having with
Yes.
this, and she's just not going to go there like in a conscious way, but it is like a way for her to express those needs and wants.
Yeah, no, it's you did a wonderful job with that. Those were really that all came across very well. And then also I'm not sure why, for some reason, her name is escaping me. Her friend, who she finds on Reddit, the other like main character,
Yeah.
Mickey.
Yeah.
Don't know why that just happened. Sorry about that. The tension, like there's obviously sexual tension between her and Mickey as well. And I'm curious, was that level, that sort of low burn, did it ever get higher in previous drafts?
No, I think my editor was like pushing, like my US
Oh,
editor was
really?
like, let's like ratchet it up. Um, I think with that I was like, Mickey comes into the book as this sort of Angie doppelganger, this kind of doppelganger of Teddy's sister. And so there's a way in which their relationship is a sort of slightly off sister relationship. And then there's a way in which it's a friendship, which as much as people, will say, oh, this friend is like a sister to me or whatever, those are totally different relationships. Like your relationship with your sister is so unique and odd and strange and can survive an enormous amount of conflict. Your relationships with your friends usually can't take that kind of pressure. But
Yeah.
also, there is, I think, with a lot of, especially young female friendships, there is this kind of erotic charge. And it's not necessarily like, I want to sleep with you, but it's like, I want to be you.
Yeah.
I want to understand what it's like to have your face and your body. And that like desire that is latent in friendships, and then combining the two, I think added this element, almost like taboo element, because this person is her sister's like double in a way.
Yeah.
And so then for her to have that kind of like charged relationship made it a little odd, and yeah, just
It
always
did.
something. Yeah.
That was good. I liked it. I liked it at the simmer that you left it on. I was just curious if it ever, heated up or, or any more than that, because it was so present that I almost wondered if you had um written it at like a 5 and then taken it down to a 2 in the editing process or something like that. Yeah, it was very good. And like you said, like it certainly was taboo and like very very interesting. And because that's the thing about the book that's funny, is that it is so, for all the ways that it is its own thing and difficult to sort of categorize, it is also like very erotic. Like it is a very erotic book.
Thank you.
um oh, you're welcome. Like it is. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess that kind of leads me to my next question, in terms of, so there's a question mark for Teddy all the time, or not all the time, but off and on, about the appropriateness of her father Mark's relationship with Angie. And he is not, sort of on paper, he's like not a great guy. He, like has a previous family that he abandoned for Teddy's family, Teddy's mom, who is his brother's widow. So there's a lot of stuff he's done that's not great. And I guess another question I had for you was the extent to which this book is about the kind of internal friction of loving people who are not perfect or people who are bad, and how that, because we all have that, like nobody is the best, nobody's as great as, like, you imagine your dad is or whatever. So it's, yeah, I guess I was curious to hear you speak on that.
Yeah, I think that is a big part of the book is like Teddy at one point says you shouldn't be able to love bad men, when she is thinking, kind of her worst version of like what her dad might have been involved in. But you also don't get to pick who you love. I mean, I think I was thinking about a lot of this around like a couple years ago, when all of the like canceling stuff was at like a fever pitch, or even like every time there were news stories about these men who did bad things, and then it would be like, oh, his daughter or sister should like distance herself from him and things like that. And people did start to talk about family relationships in this way, like people were sort of drawing hard boundaries and cutting people off, and like, by all means, do whatever you need to do. But I think it does ignore the reality of a lot of human relationships, which is that you love people, and you often, like, in spite of these uncomfortable things that you know about them. And in Mark's case, a lot of what Teddy finds out about him is posthumous. So also, how do you hold on to a person who is sort of shifting all the time, even after they're gone? How do you incorporate this new information? And that was something like with my own dad. I wrote about this for The Guardian last week, but like he had this son who he's kind of abandoned for all intents and purposes. And like for my sisters, that was information they found out about after he was gone. And so you're left with this kind of like uncomfortable task of um trying to find some kind of narrative, right? Because you almost need to like pin down a version of someone after they're gone, because they're not there in the flesh to be the kind of ever-changing, complicated people that we all are. So to incorporate all of these things, and that's something the book's really interested in, both with Mark and Angie, because they're both of their memories are kind of being eroded in different ways. Like Mark's by all of this uncomfortable information that's come up, but also Angie's by the version of her that has been propped up by like the Reddit
Yeah.
cycles, who want to see her as one thing, which is this kind of saint. And that's not how Teddy remembers her either. And that also feels, I think, offensive to Teddy, to like, Teddy doesn't want that fake version of her sister. She wants the real version, which is somebody who is often kind of monstrous, and that would still be better than something that's not real.
Yeah, and especially like with, you know, because her disappearance, she was so young, she was like, just the way that somebody like somebody sort of an untimely tragedy will color somebody the way somebody actually was. Yeah, and particularly in spaces like Reddit, you know, when there's all of this chatter happening, that could happen very easily. And also I feel like it's spaces like Reddit where, like what you were talking about, like there's always that like there's definitely the impulse, like when somebody because people will bring their sort of like family stuff to Reddit, and like it is often like cut them off, like go no contact, like just this really hard and fast thing that, you're right, it doesn't feel true to like actual real family relationships or dynamics at all. So that actually, this is another question I had for you that's less about the book and more about the kind of marketing work that you've done for the book. So I found, I didn't realize like until Mother Thing, just the extent of the demand for these like essays, and like just like, you know, they want you to write this and they want you to write this, and and it's always this like highly personal stuff. Like nobody wants to know what I think about You've Got Mail, you know, they want to know like you know, and because that's the demand is for that, these personal essays, and you've done a really good job, like truly bravo, because like I kind of was like, I can't, I'm not good at that type of, I don't know, I have a hard time with it. You've done a really wonderful job. I've read all of them, they're fantastic. But like, how was that, like with the subject matter of them, and like dealing with, like, was everybody cool with you talking about this stuff? And also obviously like reading them and then understanding how personal even just the book is, like how did people react? You don't have to answer this too if it's too like.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's so weird. It's like the weirdest thing, right? I think my mom calls it the personal essay tour of duty, and that's what it feels like a tour of duty. And I mean, it gives you a lot of respect for memoirists, because no thank you to that. But yeah, it's a very weird thing. It also puts you in the position of like, you know, by the time your book's coming out and you've planned all of these essays to come out around the publication date, and all of a sudden the book, which you've been working on for years, which you thought you'd be really nervous about, you're actually much more nervous for this random essay that's coming out, because that's about the mom, you know? So like, it was a weird thing where like I was just more focused on the last couple weeks, these essays. I will say everyone was very cool about it. They didn't have to be. I gave everyone veto power who I'm like writing about. I think it's a horrible thing to be written about. Like the idea of someone writing an essay about me makes me want to crawl in a hole and die. So I think respecting that power, like I'm definitely not of the camp. Like I love the Anne Lamott like quote that's like, if people wanted you to write nice things about them, they should have behaved better. Part of me is like, yeah, totally. But then I think, I don't know, you know, I think we have a lot of power when we're writing about people, so I try to make everyone else look better and make myself look worse. And I think that is kind of the key. I'm not so keen on like, I think there's a crop of essays, or like there's at least a sort of push with personal essays lately to turn it into like the tragedy Olympics, or like pity would be the last response that I would want from any of these essays. So
Mhm.
I wrote an essay about my mom for the Times, and my
I read
sister
it.
was like, you like made her look honestly really good. She has no right to be mad. And I was like, no, she does though, because it's the New York Times. You know what I mean? Like I'm putting her business out on
Was
display.
she mad?
No, she wasn't. And I
Okay,
wouldn't
good.
have published it if she were. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, she was very gracious about it, and she's in recovery now, so it's kind of like whatever. But I do think my like one piece of craft advice would be like turn yourself into the villain to whatever degree you can. Like make yourself the bad guy of the piece, because you're still in control of it. Like you're at the end of the day. And it's so much it's such a richer way I think to approach it than to go into it being like, here's my list of grievances. Like that
Yes.
is a drag to read about.
Well, and also just like with what we were talking about with like, sometimes people are bad, sometimes people are good. Like to sort of write it down is to pin it down kind of.
Yeah.
So it is, you don't want to do that, and you don't want to, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. That would be, you wouldn't feel good about that. But I mean, but yeah, like it's I was really impressed with all of them, because yeah, like I said, I like couldn't, like I was kind of like, I don't know, I just couldn't do it. It's just I not like a, not like I couldn't do it. It was more just like it was a lot of work. Like I know how much work it is. That's what I mean. Like you really, that's a ton of work that you did, and they're all really, really good. Um, the other thing that always made me hesitant about it is probably like a bit of a bad attitude about it, where it's like, no one, and I don't know if you feel this way about it, but my stance as a writer is like, no one needs to know about me.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
totally.
mean? Like
Yes.
I am uninteresting, like I don't want to give you anything that's going to make you fit. Like I want you to just, the book is it. Um, and it makes me feel like I'm just, so I do think I get a bit of a like, well, no, like none of my favorite writers had to like become a personality and like, do this stuff. But yeah, you've done such a great job of it, because also yours are so, they feel so, they like aid your read of the book. Like they're like they're great accompaniments to the book. Like they're not, they do nothing but sort of like assure you that all of the authority you had in writing the book, that you can feel when you're reading it, that you really like, you really did nail it. And it's, I don't know if that's making sense, but like they're really great pieces. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah, it's a weird, it is a weird form though. And I do, some part of me thinks it's like a deeply unethical thing to do, honestly. But yeah,
like to
I
write
think
them or to ask for them.
to write them. I mean,
Hmm.
probably to ask for them too, and to
Yeah.
pay at pay.
Yeah.
But I do, yeah, I feel the same way in terms of like, I understand, I guess, why people want this sort of thing, but it's so divorced from how I read anything that, and I do worry that then it becomes like a treasure hunt for like biographical information in the
Yeah.
book. Oh, so that must be this or whatever, which is, that's not really how fiction works, and they honestly have pretty much nothing to do with the book. So, um, but
Yeah.
that is a read or whatever. It's like when people are like, "Oh, do you write in the morning or at night?" And like, if that's a question people genuinely care about, I'll answer it. But like, why do you want to know? Like, are you coming over? Like, that's how I feel about everything.
When should I stop by?
Like, why are you asking? Like, who cares?
People do want to know that though, the morning and night thing.
So weird. Where do you write? Like, what kind of routine do you have? Do you have a special drink? It's like, no, but like, I'll let you know if I hear about one. That helps with writing.
I had to do this interview, like, or geez, it wasn't even like an interview. It was like a little like 10 questions with whatever, And it was like about like your writing space. It was when I was writing Normal Women. And when I was writing Normal Women, I had a newborn. So it was like, describe your writing space. And I'm like, well, I have a baby latched to my nipple and I'm on my phone on like Google Docs. Like, it's like, I don't know. I like it just, the sort of like romanticizing of that aspect of it, when in reality, particularly when you have kids, it's just like whenever they were quiet for 10 minutes, like
There's no office. Like I know I said on at one point on the tour, like this is the chair that I write in. It's literally just like a reclining chair from Costco, and it's where
it
I
looks
write. Like
plush
there's nothing to see. Yeah, it is. I mean, I highly recommend it, but it's not like a routine that I think you could be like, I do get it. I mean, when I was a younger writer too, I definitely was like, okay, if that's how it's done, then that's how I'll do it.
Yeah.
I try not to like participate in that kind of prescriptive stuff though, because what am I going to say? Like, go to Costco, get a chair, sit in that chair, like, you know, in your own filth for
Yeah.
several
Use
days.
my discount code K Brody, and then you can get a plush, inexpensive Costco chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's funny. It's, I mean, I guess it's like, though, it's like people are looking for ways to kind of like, because it's hard, right, to like sit down and write. And it's nice if you can find something that's like, okay, once I'm seated in my K Brody Costco chair, like I know I'm writing now. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's actually, yeah, it's funny. It is funny. And it's one of these things too where it's like I find I have a sort of, I learned a word recently. Actually, people in the UK probably know this word, but it's new to me. My agent, who was Australian, whenever she calls something that's a pet peeve, a bugbear. And I have a bit of a bugbear with like, and you may have found this, but there is this like sweeping reluctance um from interviewers, and good interviewers, like it comes from a good place, to never ask female writers that are mothers, like about their kids, or these two roles, and things like that. And I find personally that all that really does is sort of hide how much more difficult it can be for working mothers who have like day jobs and raising kids and finding the time to write. So I do like to sort of like, just in terms of like, helping people with their craft, or helping other people in these situations, if they can't find the K Brody chair, sort of like, what is your sort of, do you carve out special time, or do you just sort of take what you can get because I know you're also a mother, and I assume have a day job and all of these things. So
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like, I know Lauren Groff answered, like somebody asked her about motherhood and writing, and she was like, I politely declined to answer until like you start asking men about this. And I remember reading that and thinking, good for you. But also I wanted to know. I was like, but how do you do
yeah,
it?
I read the exact same thing, and I was like, okay, yeah, good for you, but like, what am I
Let
supposed
me
to
know.
do?
Yeah, give
And I
me a
also
tip.
remember reading this. Do you know the author J.G. Ballard?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a single dad and of three children, and like literally every interview was like, how do you do it, J.G. Ballard? Like three kids. And I was like, I get it. I get the instinct, and at the same time, like, and God love him, like single dad of three kids and a writer. How did he do it? But like, let's not like applaud, one side and then like just kind of ignore the realities of the other. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like there has to be a happy medium.
For sure. It's like when my husband is like in the airport with the kids and everyone's like, look at him. And I'm in the airport and they're like,
Exactly the same. Like, get out of my way.
yeah,
No one told you to have kids.
yeah. But no, I think it's changed. Like when I was writing Rabbit Hole, I only had the one and he was very small. And I don't know. I like blacked it out, honestly. I think it was mostly at night. Like I've kind of always been somebody who writes at night. I've tried a few times in my life to be like a early morning writing person, but it's just not going to happen for me. And I've made my peace with that. So I wrote most of that book at night. Now I think I have two now, and I can't do the like late night thing as much as I used to be able to. Like I just physically can't.
Yeah.
And I think also when I sold the book, I started finally giving myself permission to like take time to write. So now I've been doing these like week-long retreats at Dorland Artist Colony, which is in
Week
Temecula.
long?
Yeah,
Wow, good for you.
I know. I'm
Good for you.
shameless.
That's an inspiration. No, that's an inspiration.
And honestly, I feel like I should have been doing it before I sold the book, but I wouldn't have, because I felt
No,
like right and um, who knows, and it would have felt like really
indulgent.
gluttonous. Yeah. But I should have. It would have
Embarrassing,
been better.
honestly.
Yeah, it would have felt, yeah, embarrassing. Like, who do I
Yeah.
think I am? I did
Yes.
one time, I think, when we were about to go on submission with Rabbit Hole. I was like 8 months pregnant with my second baby. And I said to my husband, like, I just need like 3 days. Like, I can't do it. And so I checked myself into like a Holiday Inn off the highway, and that was great. And I think just as effective. Like, you don't need, I shouldn't say you, I don't need, as much as like Dorland is beautiful and they have these beautiful sunsets and hikes and whatever. I don't use any of that. I draw all the blinds. I'm inside. I'm just writing for a week. I could be anywhere. So I've done the like Holiday Inn thing a few times, which I really recommend to moms. Like, if you can get 2 days, you can do that, and semi inexpensively. A lot of these writing colonies are not free either, so that's not necessarily
They
the
call them
cheapest.
colonies.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, is that, I guess it's like an American thing, this culture of like writers or artist colonies.
Colonies. Like I think of ants.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I think that is the vibe. It's like we're all
Yeah,
gathered.
I very much think of insects when I hear that word.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's the vibe.
They're they're great though. I mean, I'd love to go back to Dorland soon. And then yeah, otherwise, I don't know. My husband and he writes too. So
Oh
we try
wow.
to like carve out time. Like, he has a day on the calendar marked off that that's his day. So I have to like figure out something with the kids, and he's gonna go write on that day. So I think now it's become much more like we do big chunks of work in short periods of time, and then things sort of slowly done nights and weekends until the next big push. But also I think a lot of the advice honestly boils down to like, you have to have the right partner. Like, I see a lot of my friends' husbands and they seem like nice men, but I could not write a book if I was married to some of those men.
Yes.
Like, you have to be really strategic.
Oh yeah, and you have to like, well, particularly like too with I mean, so your husband's also a writer, which is amazing. My husband is like in computer science. So he like is not like, doesn't really, get what I do, but like, I mean, he gets it, but you know what I mean. But if he didn't, yeah, if he wasn't supportive, like very supportive of like me taking this very seriously for myself, like it would just be, you need somebody to be like, no, you're really good. You really should keep going with this, because like it is very easy to sort of like, well, like we were talking about, like be like, oh, I'm not going to book that week because that's just embarrassing because I don't make money at this, and this is a hobby, and this is, so you kind of do need, and that's nice. And if your partner's also a writer, because they really get it then too, and they're like, no, this is what you're doing.
Yeah. It's the way I think a lot of men have written books, which is that you kind of need a wife. Like, you need somebody
Yeah.
to clean house and do, bring the kids to school and whatever. Like,
That's why
somebody
it's
has.
amazing that angel J.G. Ballard did it on his own.
I know. What a man.
What a man.
Let's ask him.
Though. It is true, which is why I do, like I said, like I do, it is a bugbear of mine, this thing of like, well, we just won't ask about it because that's the problem. And it's like, well, no, that's not the problem. These people are still doing all of this work. Yeah, so that actually brings me to another question, sort of my final-ish question. So your piece in the New York Times about your mom, which I really loved, I thought it was just so good. But you say this thing about how your mom, they're like, she thinks she's special, and and she was always like, well, why don't you, and sort of by extension, you guys were all very special as well. And my mom is the exact same way, like, just like always like, well, you could be an actress, you could be a blah, like, why can't you, like, of course you can do all of these things. And I sometimes in my own life have been like, why did you make me feel like I could like do this stupid job, like this, like, my dream, like pursue my dream sort of thing. Because I, like you, I assume, have like kind of always wanted to write. And then like as you get older, you're like, oh, this is maybe a tough choice that I've made. And, you know, and yeah, so I guess my question is, do you think that that attitude of your mom's is kind of like what made you have that idea in your head that like, oh yes, I can do this? And then further to that, is that something that you want to do to your own kids?
Interesting. Yeah, so I think she was like definitely a little bit delusional about me. I mean, I don't say this in like a cute, you know, when you see actresses who are like very cute and they're like, I was unpopular in high school. Like I had a lot of years where I ate lunch alone and no one was like bullying me. I was just kind of a loner. Like I was just kind of a weirdo. And she every year would be like, you should run for class president. And I would be like, yeah. And then, you know, I'd like print up all the flyers and then I'd chicken out. Like, what am I going to do with all these flyers?
Yeah.
I don't have any
Yeah.
friends. So, I think that helps. It helps to have people in your court who are like, you're so great. Like, and I think as a writer, you need that. Like, you have my first round of readers are those people. They're like, this book is amazing. You know, you
Yeah.
need a little bit of that. There's a lot of rejection baked into it. And my dad was very much that way too. Like, I think the nice thing he did for us, you know, I have two sisters. He never treated us like, girls or like made a big deal about the fact that we were girls or wasn't like I'm the only man and look at all these beautiful. He was just kind of like, you guys are smart, you guys can do this. Played a lot of sports with us and was really hard on us though. Like it definitely felt a little bit like it was different than my mom's thing. My mom believed in us and thought we were wonderful. My dad was kind of like, you have a lot of gifts, but so what? Who cares? Like, there's a lot of talented people out there, and you have
Look
to
at
be.
Springsteen.
So that I think that combination, I'm like a deeply practical person. So there's like I mean, sort of, there's part of me that's like, let's do this crazy thing. But I was jealous of my friends in grad school who were like all in on the writing thing. Like they were really all in on it. I need to know where my health insurance is coming from. Like I
Yes.
cannot not know. I cannot bet on myself in that kind of way. Like I don't have that in me to be like, I'm sure this will work out well. So I always have like other things cooking. I still wish I could be a little bit more kind of like all in on the writing than I am. I think I'm actually getting there the older I get, but I did have a lot of years where I was like, don't tell anyone about this. This
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
But I still pursued it. I actually ran into my second grade teacher. We did an event in New Jersey and she came. She is wonderful. She did like this amazing writing workshop and she was like, I remember your mom saying to me, like, I think she's a gifted writer. And I was like, oh, you know, I teach now. So I'm like, oh, one of those parents, you know, who's like, she's very gifted, like the worst. But also, yeah, I don't know. It does. I'm not sure how I'll be with my kids yet. They're still so small.
Yeah.
You do kind of think the sun shines out of their ass in a way. Like you're like, I can't believe
Yeah.
I made a whole person and they're so amazing. So you
Yeah.
kind of can't help but hype them up all day.
Yeah.
But then I do have an impulse too to be like, you know, the world is tough and you have to be fierce and so probably a little bit of both. I don't know that I can help it though. I mean everything they do I'm like, isn't it amazing?
Oh, I
Um
know.
my
Terrible.
husband, knock it off.
Yeah, like I feel like because my mom was the way she was, I want to be sure to temper it because I do also like I remember when my daughter was born, she had this like teeny tiny little birthmark. And I remember literally being like, no one else in the world has a birthmark like that. That is a very special birthmark. Like that is like immediately thinking of like, because I'm crazy, just like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer and she like had that like special birthmark and then it got, anyway. So you can't help but just like go actually insane with thinking about how wonderful and great and perfect they are. And then I'm always like, oh no, this is what my mom thinks. And now look at me, I'm a artist. God,
Are
I
you
don't want
are you the oldest in your family?
I'm the middle.
Okay. I think oldest children are even like the worst too. Like they just get so much of it, like so much
Are
of
you
the
the oldest?
mythology. Yeah.
Oh,
And I see
interesting.
with my older one too. I just feel like it's just unchecked. It's
Yeah.
unchecked ego.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much of that. I was like born in the call, which is, like in the
Oh,
back.
see? Oh,
So
yeah.
my mom makes she'll tell anyone, she'll tell everyone. She'll be like, and I don't mean to tell you, I knew
Yep.
it because she was born. And I'm like, this is just superstitious nonsense, but it means something to her. And
Listen, I
um,
understand. I was like obsessed with my child very small. Like if she'd been born in the call, oh my, I would have like I wouldn't even I would have been beside myself. That would have been beyond. So I understand where your mother's coming from.
it's hard. It's hard not to do that with kids,
It is hard not to do it. It is. But yeah, I was curious when I read that because yeah, it made me laugh because I was like, geez, my mom did the exact same thing. And I wonder if that's why we both pursued an insane dream.
No.
So you teach, what grade do you teach?
Well, actually, so I'm doing weird stuff now. I had been teaching high school like Teddy.
Okay.
And when I wrote the book, I was teaching high school, and then we moved to LA. I taught middle school for like a year, and then when the pandemic happened, I mean, we were in this like one bedroom apartment with a baby, and I was like teaching on Zoom in the closet. My husband was teaching at the same school, also in a different closet. And I was like, this is not sustainable. So we ended up like this weird job. We ended up running this pod school for celebrity families in Beverly Hills. So that's now kind of my life as I have a much more flexible schedule. It's the best writing job I've ever had. The kids all went back to school after a couple years of pod school. The pod school was like a real school with 6 kids. Like they bought a place and turned it into like a school. Um, but now I am basically just on staff for one family, which is great. I mean, I feel like I got a MacArthur grant or something. Like I just have so
Yeah.
much more time. I think that's also part of the answer. Like you can have a job you really care about that you want to do a good job at. You can have kids, you can write, you can do like two of the three. So I think cutting out the job,
Yes.
and now I can do a better job with the parenting and with the writing. When I was
Yeah.
teaching, that was like really teaching high school. I couldn't have done that and the kids and the writing. Like it was just,
It's
you
too
can't
much.
do it. Yeah.
No, you couldn't possibly do it all. And that's the thing. And I think that you are in sort of selecting the job part to be the part where you're sort of making the most concessions. It seems to me like you have gone all in on writing because you still have to eat,
Right. More
you know.
so. Yeah. It's like I have this, I know we're gonna be okay and I'm making a living that way, but I'm no longer like investing in the plan B career. Like that is just kind of coasting. I'm not
Yeah.
like, oh, let me find out a 10-year plan for that, which I was for a while. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, what about my teaching career? And I don't really think about that anymore. Now I think like the writing is my career and the other stuff is maintenance. The way that honestly almost all novelists are subsidized by like a university or Hollywood or something. Like it's just you have to find your subsidy
Yeah,
to do.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. No, that's well, I mean, I'm very happy that you've selected the writing as being one of the priorities because I love your writing and I'm very excited to read more from you. I like, which actually my very last question is, are you working on something now? Which I assume you are.
So I finished a draft of a book because publishing takes so long. So we kind of locked the copy of this a year and a half ago. And I really had a long time before the publicity stuff started and wanted to make the most of that. So I wrote a draft of a second book that I have to edit. I haven't sent it to anybody yet. Sorry.
Right.
Not even my agent. But yeah, it has some similarities. I think this with this book and the book that came before it, the like failed manuscript that I wrote in grad school, they were both about grief and memory. And I kind of thought like maybe this is all I have, like this is all I have to say. And then I was relieved, like once Rabbit Hole was done, I was like, okay, I said what I wanted to say about that. And I started to think of these other things. So this book, I think it follows two sisters who are in like a grunge band. Um, and then an act of violence separates them for 10 years. And then when they come back together, one of them is doing really well, very successful, and one of them is kind of down on her luck. But the successful one, her big secret is that her success is built on her sister's stolen work. So it has like some
That sounds
similar
amazing.
thread. I like it a lot. I'm in the place right now where I'm like, this book is great.
Oh,
That'll change. But yeah, it's more about like ambition and art. And I think this question of like, well, what if you want more than your talent will allow? Like, what if you want to be great, but you're not great? And that's kind of driving the book.
that sounds so good. Is it gonna also be, or do you like, are you, now that you've kind of had the sort of like thriller crash course with editing Rabbit Hole, is this one also going to be kind of that, or like a totally different style?
I don't know. I mean, I was trying to introduce some thriller elements into it as I was writing it because I was like, okay, it makes sense to kind of follow in the same vein. But it gets away from me, you know, and Rabbit Hole, it got away from me too. And I think I don't know that I am like a dyed in the wool thriller writer. Like I don't have that in me. I'm not going to churn out like 20 books and they're all going to be cleverly plotted. And given that some of the feedback of Rabbit Hole has been like, this is not a thriller, this book is even further away from that. So I think it'll be similar in the sense that I like playing with some of that. I mean, I like just tension. Like I don't know if you've read like B. Setton's Berlin or Antoine Wilson's Mouth to Mouth, but like those are books to me where like it's not like a straight down the middle thriller, but it's using a lot of those tools to create just like tension on like a line level. So I'd like
Yeah.
to keep that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a question for the marketing people. I
Yes.
don't know how they decide these things.
I honestly don't know either.
Did you
Yeah,
when you finished Normal Women, were you like, this is a thriller? Or
not even
did
a little bit.
yeah.
No, I was like, that's another weird little hunk of literary fiction.
Yeah.
And same with Mother Thing, honestly, like it wasn't like this is a horror novel. It was like, ah, there's another like weird tumor excised from my brain. There you go.
Yeah.
Like they're not, I don't know. And then yeah, so it's been interesting because they're such different books to see the like what we were talking about with like the things that like readers bring into when they sit down to read a book, like they bring in the expectations of however it's marketed, but then also I'm learning that they bring in like, oh, this is a Ainsley Hogarth is a horror writer, so like this is going to be a horror. So then there's that too of like when you shift gears in a big way, there's sort of like that um that is also a bit of a problem, it seems like, or for some readers. Yeah, it's interesting.
Interesting. Because literary fiction too, I think has been moving more and more speculative. Like there's so much speculative literary fiction now, more than
Yeah,
there was like 15 years ago. That's either kind of sci-fi, kind of fantasy, kind of whatever, you know, playing with all these different tropes. Um, it's interesting to me that that flexibility hasn't carried over in the same way to genre readers who there is still, I think, a lot of rigidity with like genre. I
there
don't know.
seems to be. And like I think it really is just dependent on the reader. Like you and I were saying, like I never sit down and like honestly, I never sit down with like a big expectations when I read anything, even by writers I like love. Like I just I'm like, okay, you do your thing, and I
Yeah.
will read it. And like so I just don't really, same with movies, honestly. Like I just don't care that much about that. But I think it is a really big thing for people. And I get it too, because people, it's their sort of leisure time. It's like how they relax. So it's like, if they're like, I wanted, you know, to be thrilled. And as you said, if like, I wanted to be thrilled and instead I'm sad. Like,
Yeah, yes, right. I get it. Like your day is hard, your job is
yeah,
hard, your kids are being a pain in the ass. Like I understand wanting what you ordered. Totally.
Yes.
I think there are books that are kind of serving that up, and then um it is hard to kind of be like, well, that's not what I'm doing. Like, I'm not your waiter and I won't be accepting substitutions at this time. Like, this is what I made.
Yeah.
But I get it. And I think, I don't know, I was like talking to my husband about this too. I was like, the work that you see in like a museum where you're like, that is amazing. Like, that is Saturn devouring his son or something. You don't necessarily want to like hang that over your kitchen table.
Yes.
You just want something sort of comforting to look at. Um, it is just, and I guess this is true in film too, that like, because we've like mixed art and commerce so much, you can't quite parse like, well, what is like my feel good show that's just gonna give me what I want today, and what is like not every night you're coming home and like putting Zodiac on or something, like
Yes.
can't do it every day.
Yeah. It's like, what is this for? How am I supposed
Yeah.
to use this thing? Am I supposed to use it to make myself feel happy? Am I supposed to use it? Like, yeah, it's weird. Are you guys speaking of movies, are you guys in LA for movie related stuff? Or like, what made you go to LA from New Jersey?
So we were in New York. I went to grad school in New York, and my husband's from Queens. So we lived in Queens for like 6 years. And then after my son was born, well, like we just kind of couldn't afford it anymore. And my sister lives out here. So I wanted to be closer to like my people. Um, so we moved out here. My husband also he does like a weird kind of writing. So some screenwriting, and then he was writing for VR movies. So he did that for a while. So we kind of, I guess both is the answer, kind of for work and for family. I think we thought it was going to be a couple years. Um, but it's hard to leave, they wear you down. The weather's not
Yeah.
enough.
No, God, no. It's so cold here right now. I'm sure you still I'm sure it's so cold over here at the moment.
Yeah, it's
And
we were back east for like 2 weeks for the book launch, and my kids too they're so used to being outside all day. So
yeah,
like having them inside for even like a couple days in a row, it's insane. Like they destroy the place.
yeah. They're outside cats.
Yeah, they really are.
They're
I
feral.
went to the park in New York. It was like 20 degrees and there were no other kids there. And my son kept being like, "Where is everyone?" I'm like, "Well, their parents aren't as desperate as I am to get you out of the house."
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, no, that would be hard. That'd be hard to and how many years have you been there? Because I've heard from people that what ends up bothering you is that it's too consistent, the
Mm-hmm.
weather. That
Yeah,
people
you
from the
lose
east
track of
are bothered by
time.
that.
Yeah, I find my handle on like the year is not as intuitive as it was. Like I don't have
Oh,
a
weird.
sense of time passing the same way I did on the East Coast. I
Yeah.
think also because I'm a little untethered to the school year for the
Oh
first
yeah.
time in my life. So the combination of like no seasons and no school year is throwing me for a loop, but it's very consistent. I mean, it's an odd place. It's not, I don't like it more than New York. I feel more myself in New York, but it's easy and it
Mm.
makes my life easier. I was walking around Brooklyn signing books a couple weeks ago, and whenever I'm like in the city, I think, oh, like this is great. But I just know my day to day would be so much harder in so many small ways that I would actually eat into all my writing time.
Yes.
So that is the thing I'm trying to avoid.
Yep. And it would just like the money that you need to sort of like stretch your time would be eaten up by way more.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, it was very nice chatting with you.
It was fun talking to you. And so exciting seeing normal women. I'd like in At Books Are Magic, it was like normal women's right here, rabbit holes right here. So fun.
Oh, actually, you know what I just saw today is that Rabbit Hole and Normal Women are both um Kobo books of the month in
Oh,
the
what's a
UK.
Kobo? I
Yeah.
don't even know what that is.
Kobo's like it's a Canadian company. Yeah, it's like they make e-readers and like
Okay.
yeah, so it's like, and I was like, oh, would you look at that? Isn't
Love
that fun? I'll send you the link.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Actually, I think there's a Kobo it's the UK, I think. Anyway, there's one in I don't know what I'm talking about. There's one, I'm pretty sure Kobo's in the UK as well, but maybe it's not in the US. I have no idea.
The loop.
What's that?
I could just be out of the loop too. Wouldn't be the first time.
I don't know. I don't understand how the digital companies are in various places or not. Anyway, yeah, this was really fun. I'm really excited that we got to chat. This was awesome. And I seriously am obsessed with your book. I do love it so very much. As you know.
My editor was saying to me in New York, she was like, I can't believe that like you tweet, because she tweeted that Mother thing was like her favorite book of the year or whatever. And then I included you in it. And she was like, I can't believe that Ainsley saw my own tweet and knows who I am. And like, she like worships you. She was the one who was like, you have to read Mother thing. And then when you blurbed the book for us, which was so nice, she was just like over the moon. That was like,
She's so sweet.
She is. She's the best.
She's wonderful. Well, you guys wrote such a nice letter. Like, you know how many like blurb requests you get like now, I'm sure. Like you know, you want to be able to do them all, but then like when you get like such a great nice letter from people who like really got your book, you know you're gonna like the book because like you guys just like loved it for all the reasons that I loved writing it, kind of thing. So it was like, yeah, basically you showered me with compliments, and so I wanted to but honestly, like I could just, you guys
like
just seem so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I really do love the book, and I'm very excited to continue telling everybody to read it because it's just so unique. And like, man, one of the things I really love that you did is those that was so smart in terms of like, because it is a book that's so much about grief and about sort of as we kind of talked about, a lot of the kind of slow moving banalities of grief are in the book, but those chapters are so quick that like it really moves even when you're talking about things that aren't really moving. Like it's so good. Read it, you can just get through it so quick, but it's also it's such a good book. I'm very into it. Very excited for the next one too. I'm sad that no one's read it yet because as you pointed out, publishing moves at a glacial pace, so I know I'm not going to see it for like a really long time.
Yeah, it'll be a minute, but I'm like very excited for your next one. The
Thank you.
pitch sounded amazing.
Yes, I'm excited about it too. It's another I don't know you know what, in fairness to the marketing departments, like I don't know what they're supposed to do about these books either. Like this one's also going to be like that. So
no, totally. I totally understand that they were like, okay, we got to sell this book to people. So let's find the sexiest pull quotes and whatever. It's tough moving books.
It is. And you know what, and it is tough to move books. And I remember too, when we pitched it to them, that was like the angle that we pulled to pitch it. But in my head, I was like, this is not that, but whatever, it'll get it there.
That's like illuminating. My agent, when we were editing the book, she kept bringing me back to my query letter. And she was like, this is what you said you were trying to do. So let's edit it in that direction. And that was kind of helpful. I think it's sometimes helpful at least to step back from it and be like, well, what is how I'm pitching it actually like what's here on the page, or is that some fantasy version that only exists in my head?
Yeah. Well, it's also just interesting, this idea that like we're really just trying to slip these weird things into people's like lives, and we're just like, hey, it's a thriller.
Yeah.
But then you're like, no, it's not.
And then they're like, this book bummed me out.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's really funny. Oh, well, this is what you got to do.
Tricked you.
Also, if you want to state for the record that you're an animal lover.
Yes, don't come at me. No real animals were harmed in the making of this book. I feel like I should wear a shirt that says like, I did not hurt any real animals. This is a work of fiction. Please.
Yes. It was a good choice not to wear your mink stole for the interview.
Yes.
Oh man, it's so weird. But it was funny because when I was messaging with you, like people are so weird about their animals. I have like literally he's like an elderly Shorkie who is mean and like stinky. And I'm just like, I love you so much. You're the greatest
Oh
creature
yeah.
in the world.
My dog's like sitting, I can't show you because the house is a mess, but she's right there across the room. I thought about when I wrote my first book, which went nowhere, I was like, this book, I will dedicate this book to Frankie, which is like
Aw.
a demented thing to do. Who's gonna dedicate a book to a 12-pound dog? But yeah.
Well, that one woman, oh shoot, what's her name? Who left her fortune to her dog? Can't remember her name now.
Oh yes. The German Shepherd, right?
Yeah,
Gunther was the dog, yeah.
I can't remember the woman's name now,
Not
but
the woman's name. Yeah, my husband wrote a pilot about that
oh,
situation.
that's so funny.
Mhm.
See, I would like to read that too. Anyway, should probably go because I have to pick up my kids from school in about 15 minutes. But yeah, this was really lovely. I loved chatting with you.
So fun. Thanks for doing this. This was
Thanks
amazing.
for inviting me to do it. I was so pleased when I got the email. I was just like, yes, I would like to chat with Kate. Very much so.
Fun.
Because like I
And,
wanted to chat with you even before, but it was like, oh, that'd be weird to be like, we should chat more.
I know. Well, I hope we cross paths, on the road at some point. That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be fantastic. Well, yeah, I hope to get to I'm hoping for the next book I want to go west because I've got a lot of like there seems to be a lot of like very enthusiastic booksellers out west. So I would like to go next time and meet all those folks. And yeah, it seems like it'd be fun. So if I do that, I'll call you.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay, thank you so much for watching this interview with Kate Brody. And yeah, thank you. That was a wonderful talk.
Thank you.